Hey guys, it's Candy. Welcome back to Our Family Nest. So here we are, episode number 12, the final episode of the Reading My Old Pregnancy Journal series. Right now, to start out this episode, we are jumping into Karli's birth story. So here we go. We woke up around 7:30 a.m. on the morning of Thursday, August 5th. My cesarean section was scheduled for 11 a.m. I wasn't able to eat or drink anything after 3 a.m. It didn't take long for the butterflies to start dancing in my empty stomach. I was so nervous. Nervous about the surgery, the health of my unborn baby girl, and nervous about leaving my sons for 3 days. Uncle Dean showed up to watch the boys and we left for the hospital at 8:30 a.m. We were told to check in at the admitting department by 9. With Chase, we ran a little late and caught some grief about it, so I made sure we were early this time. And boy, were we early. Things moved very, very slow the first hour. Once we were in labor and delivery, I changed into the hospital gown and waited for the nurse to come in and ask me a few dozen questions. Time seemed to be moving so slow, and there really wasn't anything exciting going on to help the time go by. So Ken went down to the gift shop to buy some cards so we could play rummy. After a few hands, the nurse who was going to assist in the surgery room came in and introduced herself and put my IV in. I have to say that was the first time that the IV wasn't killing my arm afterwards. Usually it hurts when I bent my arm or hand, and for once it felt fine. I thought to myself, maybe this is a sign of more good things to come. So we played some rummy, and at about 10:30 a.m., my mom, Ken's mom, dad, and Aunt Linda showed up. The anesthesiologist came in and we went over every procedure for my surgery. I explained to him how I have had a hard time getting spinals and that I always end up needing to get poked many times. He promised to do his best and that he would hopefully only have to stick me once. At this time, I felt myself really starting to get nervous. The nurse had come in and told me that my doctor was running a bit late. More nervous. No more playing cards. I couldn't focus. My doctor arrived and checked in with me to be sure that all was okay before they brought me back for surgery. I was caught off guard by her hello, let's go demeanor. I wanted to tell her to slow down, but I knew that there was no preventing the inevitable. My baby girl was going to be born that day. May as well get it done. Ken dressed in scrubs and my family gave me hugs and kisses and left for the waiting room. As I was wheeled back through the double doors about 11:50 a.m., I couldn't help but feel like I had just done this. Sure, it was 20 months prior, but it sure felt like yesterday. I said some last-minute prayers and tried to fight back the tears. For some reason, I think I was the most scared than I ever was with any of my boys. In some ways, the whole moment felt like a dream. I kept telling myself that it was real. I was about to have the baby girl I've always wanted. As the anesthesiologist started to prepare my back for the spinal, I kept telling myself that over and over. Poke number 1, not good. Poke number 2, not good either. 3, nope, no go. One more time, the doctor had said. My OB doctor and the attending doctor were on each side of me, making sure I didn't move. The attending doctor kept trying to talk to me, but my answers were really short. There was nothing that was going to distract me from what was happening to my body. The anesthesiologist then said that he was going to try to move farther down my back to see if he could find a better spot. I kept thinking all these bad thoughts, like I was going to die, I was never going to be able to hold my daughter. I was just a mess. Just then, I felt this jolt of the worst pain I have ever felt in my entire life, down my back, down my left leg, all the way down to my toes. I can't even describe it other than it was sort of like a jolt of electricity or something. I jerked my leg and right away all 3 doctors knew what happened and I started to cry. Not just tears, but burst out loud. I let out all the fear I had bottled up inside my body along with the pain that I had just experienced. I no longer wanted to be strong. My OB doctor explained that the doctor had hit a nerve. That is why I felt the pain. But the spinal worked and everything would be okay. I told her that I was just scared. The pain was gone, my tears were from fear, and that I don't think anyone understood that. She assured me everything was okay now, and they told me I had to lay down right away as the anesthesiologist apologized for the 3rd time. They put in my catheter and started to prep my belly for surgery. Ken came in and I had to fight back another burst of tears. I told him what had happened and being able to tell him made me feel better. I didn't feel so alone anymore. I believe it was about 12:10 p.m. at this point. The doctors began their magic. Just as with Chase, I had a lot of scar tissue, so much that they went through several pairs of scissors. You could hear the sounds of the snipping and the doctors talking back and forth about how long it was taking. Normally, the whole entire procedure takes about an hour and a half, and here we were already pushing an hour just to try to deliver my daughter into the world. I felt a little nauseated here and there, and the anesthesiologist was able to control that with medication he put in my IV. I felt some tugging and pushing. It began to get a little uncomfortable, but before I had time to think about it, Karli Reese was born at 1:03 p.m. She began crying instantly. I honestly cannot even remember what was said by Ken or the doctors at this point. All the years I have dreamt of having a baby girl and having someone say it's a girl in the delivery room, and I can't even remember who said what. I went into my own little place at that time, thanking God, feeling thankful and blessed. After they cleaned up Karli a bit and did their vitals and such, they moved her bassinet over in my view so I could watch what they were doing while they sewed me up. Her APGAR scores were 8 and 9. The nurse gave her a bit of oxygen in between using the syringe to suck out some of the mucus from her mouth. For a while, I had no idea what was going on the other side of the blue cover hanging across my chest. I was focused on my baby girl, looking at her hair, her face, her tiny body. She didn't cry too much, but when she did, it was more of a low whimper. She was beautiful, perfect, everything I could ever want and more. I wanted to hold her so bad. I wanted to smell her and kiss her. I wanted to see if it felt any different to hold a baby girl. After hearing the doctor making some comments that made me feel like they were having problems, I started to ask Ken what was going on. He told me that they were trying to close up my uterus, but there was a lot of bleeding. I actually didn't get worried until the anesthesiologist started to ask me if I felt any pain. That didn't seem normal to me. Why would I feel pain? Just then I had realized that it had been over an hour already. I heard my OB doctor ask the nurse to call for a surgeon to come into the room. I started to try to pay close attention to what was being said between all of the medical staff. Once the surgeon came into my room, the doctor had asked for his opinion. She couldn't get my uterus to stop bleeding. He told her that she just needed to keep doing what she was doing. He began to help her a bit. I heard something about how I could not put my body through this again. I believe it was the surgeon that suggested that my doctor tie my tubes right then. My doctor said that she hadn't even seen my tubes with all the bleeding going on. I asked Ken to describe to me what was going on. He said that every time my doctor tried to stitch up an area, another spot would start bleeding again. There were so many burn spots on my uterus where they cauterized it in an attempt to stop the bleeding. I began to feel pain as they started to administer pain meds through my IV. I think I had asked for pain meds about 3 times, and each time they gave me a dose. I had to get something to stop the nausea too. Finally, 2 hours after Karli was born, they had put my body back together. I was disappointed when my doctor told me that she had to use staples instead of the dissolvable stitches for my incision. I had staples the first time and it hurt a bit when they pulled them out. Things could have been worse though, so it was not a huge deal. Finally, I got to hold my baby girl. I was then wheeled into the recovery room and Ken and I began bonding with Karli. I nursed her right away and she did great. She was a really good sucker. No problems there at all. Ken went and got our family and the 2 grandmas each held her for a couple of minutes. I began to itch from the pain medication and it took ages for them to bring me some Benadryl. It didn't seem to work that much anyway. By the time I was in my regular room, I started feeling nauseated again too. By the time they brought me medication for that, most of the nausea had passed. I did get sick a couple of times, but I was thankful it passed quickly. I began to feel really sleepy. The nurses had Karli down at the nursery to bathe her and let the pediatrician check her. But then it was just Ken and my mom there in the room, and both of them left around 5 p.m. so I could rest. With all the nurses coming in and out nonstop, I think I slept all of 20 minutes, and then I started to get visitors that evening. Karli didn't cry much that first day. She liked being wrapped up tightly, and her eyes were closed the entire time. I nursed her about every 2 to 3 hours, even if she wasn't fussy, just to get a pattern going and to hopefully help my milk come in. That night, I got to clean up a bit before bedtime. I was very surprised that I didn't feel very much that I didn't feel much worse than I did considering how tough the surgery was. I think I was just mostly thankful to get the feeling back in my left leg. I kept thinking I was going to be paralyzed or something. The rest of my hospital stay went pretty good. I was able to function on my own by the second morning and was so happy to get everything unhooked from my body so I could move around freely. I can't stand that the nurses have to come in and take your vitals so often, especially at night. It is bad enough that you can't sleep good with a brand new baby, let alone then coming in and them waking you up. There is something about being able to take a shower for the first time after surgery too. It feels great. The fact that they have a chair that you can sit down in the shower is nice too. Ken brought the boys up the second day and they were all in awe of Karli. I loved the feeling I had when they were there. I felt so whole and complete. I had to explain to the attending doctor who assisted with my surgery, who insisted on telling me over and over that I should not have any more babies. We had already made the decision that this was our last baby, but me telling him that that was not enough. He kept saying that he cannot emphasize enough how bad it would be for my body. I ended up staying in the hospital 3 nights instead of 2, like I did with Blake and Chase. I felt that I could use the extra day to rest and relax because I knew things would be hectic at home. Besides, who doesn't love having someone cook and clean for you and watch your baby when you need them to? Sunday, when we prepared to go home, the nurses thought that Karli looked a little jaundiced. Her pediatrician felt that she didn't look jaundiced enough to test her though. She was nursing great. My milk came in that morning and she was nursing most of the time and still not wanting to open her eyes. It was time to leave and begin life with our new addition. Ken and I brought home our baby girl, words I thought I would never be able to say. Here's her hospital photo. April 11th, 1 week doctor checkup. You looked a little bit jaundiced at your doctor appointment, but the doctor said it wasn't enough to be of any concern. You weighed 6 pounds, 14 ounces at the appointment, so that was good news. You were 6 pounds, 8 ounces when you left the hospital. Oh, I didn't even say that in my journal entry. All that about her thinking that Karli was going to be such a big baby and she was not. Crazy. So she was 7 pounds, 4 ounces when she was born, but then they almost always lose weight those first few days until your milk comes in. So that's why she weighed a little less when we went home. I was sort of sad when the doctor told me that it would take up to 2 years for the stork bites that you have around your eyebrows to disappear. I don't mind them at all, but it is crazy how people will look and stare at them. Some will ask what they are, others already know. September 5th, 1 month old, message from mommy. If there is such a thing as the perfect baby, you are pretty close. You are getting a bit spoiled already, but that is to be expected. I love to hold you while you are sleeping and stare at every inch of your precious little face. It is still hard to believe that you were brought into my life. Each one of my children has been a miracle, but having a baby girl has been one of the greatest moments of my life. Your first month of life you've spent sleeping. At 1 month old, I would say you are awake no more than 6 hours a day total, and more than half of that you are nursing. You are very comfortable with breastfeeding, which makes me comfortable. Not once have I had thoughts about stopping nursing. In fact, I haven't even opened the box to my breast pump yet. I hope to nurse exclusively as long as I can. I know eventually I'll have to get you to use a bottle so your daddy and I can go out if we would like to. But for now, it's just you, me, and my milkers. I remember finding it unusual that you had your eyes closed almost the entire first week after you were born. No matter how dark I had the room, you continued to keep them shut. Once you did start to open them, you would blink quite a bit, trying to adjust your eyes to the light. It was then when I truly felt I could say, "Welcome to the world, Karli." Now that you could finally take a peek at your surroundings. Your hair has been a riot. It sticks up all over the place. I can tell it is growing because it is standing up taller and taller. I tell everyone that you are my little monkey baby because that is what your hair reminds me of. You suck on your pacifier pretty well. So far, you haven't been nearly as much trouble at night with the ninny that I remember Chase being. I was constantly woke up by him crying because he would lose his ninny. Some nights I don't think you even want it. When I nurse you to sleep, you are satisfied with that and don't care for the ninny. You mostly like it during the day when you're trying to fall asleep for a nap. At night, you sleep so good. You wake to eat only once throughout the night, and then you go back to sleep all on your own. Everyone is amazed that I'm not worn out every day, but I have to admit I owe all my energy to you because you are the best sleeper. Your feet crack me up. You spread your toes apart like a little frog or something. As time goes on, you're doing it less and less. Maybe it helped that I started to put socks on your feet to help keep them toes together. You have my long fingers. You may be better at basketball than I was. Everyone used to comment that I should be good at basketball with those big hands. I never found it funny. Sorry, honey, that you had to get my hands. I gave you your first bath in the bathtub before your belly button stump fell off. That may have slowed the process of it falling off for a bit, but I like the smell of a freshly bathed baby. Besides, I dislike using the portable baby tub that sits in the kitchen sink. It seems like your brothers always scream during those baths, which I thought was just because they were cold from sitting up out of the water. Your stump did fall off at 3 weeks, 3 days old. I saved it, of course. I dress you every day, even on the days that we're never even leaving the house. I can't help it. You have so many cute clothes and are growing by the day, so I have to be sure that you're going to wear everything at least once. I am happy to tell you that you have not worn one outfit more than once yet, except for pajamas. You have way more clothes than your mother, that is for sure. Well, clothes that fit me anyways. I have tried putting bows in your hair, but the Velcro ones, but they don't stay in. Your hair is just too thin right now. I really hope that you don't lose any of your hair like your brothers did. Blake was the only one that never really lost any hair. Hopefully you won't either. You were born with stork bites on your face. They are on your eyelids, and there is a spot right in between your eyebrows too. I have to admit I was sort of sad about them at first, especially when your doctor told me that it could take up to 2 years for them to completely go away. They fade with time, but it varies in terms of how fast. They have faded a bit already, so I feel better about them. When you cry, they do get dark. I hardly notice them anymore, but I always feel like I need to explain to everyone what they are when they see you for the first time. At just 2 weeks old, you had a few random smiles while I was talking to you. I don't know if they're real or not, but at exactly 1 month old, you gave me the hugest smile, which I could tell was totally real. You were so happy and excited when you smiled. A little sound came out of your mouth at the end of your smile. It almost sounded like a little giggle. It brought tears to my eyes. I've felt so much joy and love for you at that moment. You are my little sissy girl. So far, that is the only nickname I have given you. Your dad calls you Carlita once in a while, which he made up. I told him to stop calling you that before it sticks. I have thrown in sissy pants for a little variety too. I love you, sissy girl. September 20th, doctor visit. 6 week stats, 9 pounds, 8 ounces. I was very anxious for your first doctor checkup. You were seen at 6 days old just to make sure you were not jaundiced, like many moms that breastfeed their babies. I was worried about whether or not you were getting enough to eat, especially since you tend to last at least 3 hours, sometimes longer. Sure enough, you are right where you should be weight-wise. I feel so relieved and happy. I have to admit that I'm proud of myself that I'm sticking with nursing. The past couple of days you have been throwing little temper tantrums while I'm feeding you. Not every time, maybe like every third feeding or so. It's hard to relax with you kicking your legs and jerking your arms all over. It started to make me think that maybe I'm not producing enough milk for you or something. Today your doctor explained that it is normal for you to act this way, and sometimes just taking a break from nursing, burp you or something, and then try again. Other than that, you received a clean bill of health and you got lucky and didn't have to get any shots this time. Coming up on October 2nd is your mommy and daddy's 5th anniversary. I'm trying to plan ahead so that your grandma can give you a bottle. I tried to give you a bottle of formula the other day to see if you would have a preference of what kind of bottle you would drink from, and you would not take either one that I tried. None of your brothers ever did that. Then again, I didn't wait until they were 6 weeks old to introduce a bottle. But it must have been the taste of the formula that you didn't like, because today I pumped some milk ahead of time and you drank it down right away. You fussed only a tiny bit. You wanted to eat within 2 hours after that though, so that tells me that the 3 ounces that I pumped was not enough. You must be getting more than that when I nursed you. I would like to try and pump at least once a day to store up some milk for occasions like this. I really would rather not have you take any bottles at all, but I do want your daddy and I to be able to go out once in a while. October 5th, 2 months old. Your second month went twice as fast as the first. You are doing great. We had a bit of a pitfall with nursing the other night, but other than that, you have been wonderful. You don't go to the doctors again for a few more weeks, but I can tell you're growing like a weed because you are fitting into some of the clothes that have been huge on you. So far, your hair hasn't started to fall out. In fact, I believe it's growing a little bit because it doesn't stick up quite as much. Every few days I put some type of barrettes or bows in your hair. I can already imagine the fights you and I will have as you get older when I want to put your hair in pigtails and you scream that I am brushing your hair too hard. I have been smiling for, what? I have? You have been smiling for about a month already. Every morning you wake up in the greatest mood. As I nurse you, you will stop right in the middle of nursing so you can give me a huge smile. It's so cute. You are also trying to talk, or coo, I should say, when we are talking to you. You get so excited when you are talking that sometimes those high-pitched screeches come out. You are starting to recognize your daddy's voice and face more. You smile right away when he talks to you, and you seem pretty happy about spending time with your dad. Although I'm still the only one that can calm you down when you start getting cranky, mostly at night. You have added so much to our family. Having a little girl in the house makes everything just fit together perfectly. I can't put it into words, but it all just feels right. I'm so thankful that I'm able to stay home and be with you and your brothers every day. I can't imagine having to go to work. Right about now at 2 months is when most maternity leaves are coming to an end. I would hate to miss out on the new things that you will be starting to do each day. It's hard to believe how much my life has changed over the past 5 years. Getting married to your dad, quitting my job, having 3 kids, having our first home built, and having and doing more things in my life than I have ever imagined. Sure, there are people who have more and some who have less. But for me, the day you were born made every dream I ever had come true. Love you, baby girl, Mom. And that's it, guys. That was the end of my, I guess I wrote those in my online journal and kind of just pasted them out here on the pages. So, or maybe I just did it this way because I didn't want to write in the book because I can type a lot faster. I'm not really sure, but that's where we ended. So that's the end of the series, you guys. I had mentioned in one of the other videos that I feel like I should go back and like update all of these books with like a current updated entry, kind of like, I don't know, here's where you're at in life, these are my thoughts, whatever. I feel like it would probably take a long time to get through each of them, but maybe if I work on like one a month, one per kid, that I could finish it, and then I don't know, it just would make these books a little bit more complete to be able to give to them. So anyways, thank you guys so much for following along in this series. So thanks guys, we'll see you tomorrow like always. Bye.